it was a wonderful experience because not only you get to talk about your country, your cultural idea, your perspective about the economy, America, and the world, but it also gives you an opportunity to to navigate in this international arena that definitely helped me in becoming who I am right now.
Hello and welcome to Proud to Be You, the alumni podcast from Boston University. I'm your host, Jeff Murphy. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you enjoy hearing these fascinating stories about our alums around the world as much as I do, I hope you'll take just 2 minutes and subscribe to our newsletter for bonus content and giveaways. You can do that now on our website at bu.edu/proudtobeyou. And speaking of BU Pride, coming up soon on April 3rd, 2024, BU will be celebrating the incredible impact of our community with the 10th anniversary of Giving Day. That's 10 years of supporting students, championing our teams, fueling discoveries, inspiring artists, building community, and investing in the future. Whatever reason you give to BU, there's never a better time than on Giving Day at givingday.bu.edu. My guest today is Marcelo Garcia, an author, strategist, and former congressman in his native Mexico. Marcelo graduated from the Pardee School of Global Studies and went on to a fascinating career in media and politics before co-founding a new university, one focused on preparing public leaders with the skills and tools to thrive in the digital future.
Proud to Be You showcases the journeys of some of Boston University's most interesting and accomplished alumni. Inspiring grads share the highs, the lows, and the challenges they've overcome along the way, from ComAv to innovative careers. No matter where your path takes you, be proud to be you.
Marcelo, this is, I'm so glad that you've decided to take some time out of your day to chat with us. This is a little bit unusual for me in that I've actually had a chance to meet you in person, in real life. You were just on campus a week or two ago.
Yes.
And you haven't been on campus for a long, long time. Can you tell us a little bit about what brought you back?
Well, thank you, Jeff, for having me in BU Connect. I'm so excited to share my story. And yes, I was in campus a couple of weeks ago, and I was invited by the Latin American Center for Politics to give a lecture regarding Mexico's political agenda and campaigns that are ongoing, and was very thrilled to be invited and to talk about what's been happening in Mexican politics, and very enthusiastic about meeting people and getting to know the expanded version of Commonwealth Avenue, because BU has grown a lot. I'm so excited about that, and it was just a thrill, just the smells and getting into the buildings and all that funny feeling, which makes you all warm and toasty from the inside as an alumni.
Yeah,
right?
I was curious to hear more about, you graduated in 96. It's so amazing. You studied international relations, and here you are coming back to be a keynote speaker talking about international affairs, et cetera, et cetera. But I know from having been here for so long, the campus is very different. What were your reactions to seeing some of the new buildings and all the other changes that have happened?
Well, I was just thrilled. I mean, the computer and data science building, it was amazing. I met wonderful people that gave me the opportunity, thanks to Katie, who arranged all the necessary time slots and meetings and getting the dots together, and just amazed of how BU is at the forefront in not only developing new educational structures and classes for the new undergrads and graduates, and it's just quite different. I used to go to the College of Arts and Sciences building, which is a little bit old. It's very romantic, but I remember it's very classical style. And now you get into this new thriving building where hopes, dreams, knowledge, intuition, and all this, you can breathe as you walk in the lobby, and just amazed by all the brain power and the different connections that we were able to do in one single visit, and the joy of sparking new ideas and getting into talking to people at different areas, from the global perspective and to international and to Latin America. I was just thrilled to be there, and very happy because I get to get a picture with you at the faculty meeting.
Absolutely. So I'm going to rewind the clock on you in a minute. I definitely want to hear kind of how you got to BU, but you mentioned university sort of leading the way in educational structure. I think you phrased it. And here you are, you're doing that today in Mexico. So can you tell us a little bit about the work that you're doing now before I make you do a little bit of time traveling with me, and we'll talk about your younger days?
Well, right now we are very thrilled because we have founded a online university called Academia Política Digital, which is an online university that focused on closing the digital transformation gap, right? So the idea is to form new leaders and how to invest in them with digital knowledge, digital abilities, and how to transit from an analog perspective up to a digital one. The idea that you use WhatsApp or you do Zoom calls, that doesn't mean that you have a digital mindset. That means that you're only savvy with digital gadgets. But to excel in the new economy, the idea is to have methods, tools, teachers, and case studies that will bring you up to speed and create a new breed of leadership in Mexico. And that's our mission. And we are very excited because with this opportunity, we are engaging in a global expansion, touching base with different universities around the hemisphere, and it was really quite exciting to tell you that that Mexico it's getting there. It's the public administration is not easy, and especially when you have all these cycles of 3 years, 6 years, and you have to sometimes reinvent government every 6 years, which is crazy. But with these skill sets, with this toolbox that we give to public officials, then they can get up to speed faster. And so that's what we do here in Mexico. We're based in Puebla, Mexico, and would love for you, if you have the time, mi querido Jeff, you can come down south.
It's on my list. I told you I was reading all about Puebla today before we sat down. So I might take you up on that someday. Careful what you ask for. So you grew up in Mexico. I think, though, I read you grew up in Monterrey, not in Puebla.
South of Texas. Yes.
And then I think I also saw you went to high school or prep school in Switzerland. So you had a pretty global experience even before you got to BU. How did you end up at BU? How did that all come about in your life?
Great question. My dad, he supported us wholeheartedly to engage in a global education, and I studied at Lugano, Switzerland, at the American School in Switzerland, and there I was exposed to a rich environment from classmates from around the world, and I loved that experience. And I applied to different colleges, and BU nailed it down. It had a very representative class from all over the world, a lot of international crowd, and that to have the same match and live the experience in a university that provides you with such an environment, that thrilled me. because I wanted more like that, and I guess that was the international factor that hooked me up to BU.
Yeah, it's interesting for me to hear you say that you felt BU was already a really international place in the 90s. I didn't come to campus until after that, but tell me a little bit more about your experience, specifically as an international student coming to BU. Did you find yourself getting homesick a lot, or did you just immediately dive in and become part of the community? I'd love to know more about sort of the student life side.
Well, I was very lucky. I didn't get to live at Warren Towers. Back then, it was called the Jungle, and the central idea was that I lived with my brother. He was studying in another university, and we lived together. So I missed the freshman part, but
Yeah.
I didn't miss it, right? So with that in mind, I had a different perspective of the campus, and I got to live and meet a lot of exciting people, which today I'm very close friends. That thanks to the experience of having the classroom economics 101 and diving into that perspective, I met a lot of people from different parts of the world, and it was a wonderful experience because not only you get to talk about your country, your cultural idea, your perspective about the economy, America, and the world, but it also gives you an opportunity to navigate in this international arena that definitely helped me in becoming who I am right now.
Yeah.
The idea of talking with somebody regarding how many ways or different perspectives that gives you a lot of it gives you a sense of how vast is the world, and how you could tackle problems at different angles and different perspectives, right?
Yeah. So you mentioned, I think specifically Econ 101, but I was wondering if there were other experiences, whether it be a class or a professor or even just like a campus mentor. Were there experiences at BU that you look back on now as having sort of a profound impact on the path that your career ended up taking?
Yes, I mean, I could list a couple of them, but two are really great importance. I studied with Professor David Scott Palmer. He was the head of Latin American Studies, and he was very fond of Peru, and he traveled a lot to Peru, and we managed to have a very close relationship. He was my mentor, and I was the president and founder of the Boston University Mexican Association, and I was only like 19, and I met a guy that wanted to do the association, and he said, "Oh, no, don't do it. BU is very bureaucratic. You're never gonna do it." And so I said, "Okay, I like the challenge," and so I did it. and that platform, we developed a community of Mexicans in Boston University. We were 162, I believe, at that time. There's a large number. And we started organizing ourselves and talking with Mexican associations from Harvard, from MIT, from different other universities. And we managed to bring together and participate a lot in a lot of events that took place with the consul, and we specialized on bringing government officials to speak at Boston University, and that really hit the nail, because that's where I became I became aware that I love politics and I wanted to be a part of it, and having the international platform of BU and having the power of bringing government officials, which were governors, senators, and undersecretaries at the federal level. That was a big responsibility, right? 19-year-old talking to a governor and having him explain the vision of Mexico and touring and the university and connecting with other Mexican students, that gave me my social sass, right? So I knew I had it. I knew I love it. And that reaffirmed that how the international relations class and major connected the dots with what I wanted to do. Even though it was extracurricular, they didn't give me, there was no incentive for me to have that, but I loved doing it and I really enjoy it. So yeah. That was one of my mentors that right now I understand that Professor Scott Palmer, he passed away. I was really sad and he really marked my student life, and he is a wonderful professor.
Yeah. All right. So tell me a little bit about, you have this, sounds like you had a great experience at BU, which I'm thrilled to hear about. When you graduate, what is it that you see for yourself as a career? Like, what is it that you're hoping to accomplish? And I know pretty quickly after BU, you actually go on to get your first master's degree. So what made you decide to do that?
Well, you're at the crossroads, right? Whether you dive into a job or go into specialize something. And at that time, I applied for an internship at the Massachusetts State House when Paul Cellucci and Governor William Weld were governor and lieutenant governor, respectively, and that gave me a wonderful experience of sensing American politics. So imagine 21-year-old guy, with a college degree and climbing those stairs and looking at the Golden Guild, dome and entering the hall and making yourself feel important. That was very powerful for me. And that really struck a chord in me because not only the experience of dealing with a high performance press team, which I was part of. And at the time, I believe it was Robert Bliss, press secretary, and my interaction with all the team, the press team, was starting on the basics, just cutting newspapers, right? Articles, identifying articles, and trying to get those golden nuggets that are buried in the newspaper, and just receiving a well, job done. You did this. You help us carry the press release and the breaking news and all those exciting media terms that you wanted to get acquainted with, but in real life. And so that was very interesting. So bridging the Mexican politics with the American politics was a very powerful experience for me. And right after that, I decided to do the master's degree in political communication. So obviously at that time, sometimes you don't know what's going to happen up front, but I managed to get the course right, and that was, believe me, at that time that was very hectic for me. Right now I can say it in a different tone, and it was it all worked out really nice. But it's that part of you that you need to believe in yourself, and you don't need to depend on somebody else's compass. You need to create your own road. You need to create your own path, and not rely on somebody else's dreams, right?
This April, join Boston University for Global Days of Service, a month of volunteer opportunities bringing alumni together to make a difference in our local communities across the globe. Join a volunteer group or start your own project at bu.edu/Global Days of Service.
So not too long, you finish your master's at Emerson, and then not too long after that, you're back in Mexico, right? So that becomes your path. You've decided you're going to make a difference in your home country. Tell us a little bit about the next couple of years of your life. I know that you worked quite a bit in the intersection of government and communications, right? So you did have some like broadcasting experience around radio,
Yes.
TV. Then you also go on to do, I think, some consulting work. So you summarize all of that for me, and when you look back on that now, I'm curious to know what your sort of takeaways were from those early jobs after finishing your master's degree.
Well, the stepping stones, right? It was a process in the evolution and the experience of working on a television network, a public, building it from zero up to creating the brand, the content, and recruiting the talent, cherry picking the talent. That was a very wonderful experience because you understand how the media works, what's behind, a program, a television program or a radio program, and if you've done it, then once you cross the other side and become a public servant or a congressman, you know exactly how to deal with it. You know exactly what are the pain points and where to step down and where to rise up. So that was a very interesting idea of working at the television because it gave me a broad perspective of the media landscape. And from there on, politics was always in my veins, and the idea for creating a better world stuck in my agenda, and I've had some quite exciting times, dear Jeff.
So forgive my ignorance, but at some point you decide you're going to go all in on the political side, and you actually run for Congress. It's not an appointed position in Mexico, right? It's similar to the US where there's an election and you decide you're going to run for this vacant congressional seat.
Yes, of course. Well, the idea is there are spaces and agendas that you need to tackle on. For example, once we decided to engage in a more public sphere, we tackled head-on digital violence, which was right on my avenue, and the idea of creating a law and passing it, and by unanimity, it was very powerful because of all the emerging technologies that have been rising and the ordeals that come with it. Some may see it as a very exciting opportunity, others see it as a terrifying experience because navigating the internet's not safe. Not as of now, even though with all the securities and the cybersecurity measures that have been implemented recently, we're still navigating in a complicated, uncharted waters.
So 2018, you're elected to Congress in Puebla, and I know that you've got this agenda, right? The idea that you're going to make pass legislation that's going to make a difference, and then you run smack into the COVID pandemic. Tell me, you were pretty crucial in getting a lot of COVID specific legislation passed. Tell me how that did or didn't kind of derail your plans for while you were in office.
Well, actually, you needed to adapt, right? So you have your Congress agenda, a very forward-thinking same-sex marriage, trying to pass bills on the right to the city, which wasn't approved at that time in Puebla. So we're talking about groundbreaking initiatives.
Yeah.
We hit COVID, and what all congressmen did was actually, stay at their home, and they started to familiarize with Zoom calls, and they hatched into this the home office comfort. And I took a bold decision, and at that time, because Jeff, I decided to go out and visit the people. And when does the people respect you? When there are hard times, when you go and knock on the door and provide help and orientation and talk to them in the middle of the pandemic. Looking backwards, I said, man, I was, I don't know, reckless, I believe, but I was so into it. I enjoyed it. I never like went and visit a home of a person that was sick, and I just didn't. It didn't make me afraid. So I believe that was the attitude, and thank God I wasn't infected by COVID. But the idea of people looking up to you for answers in the middle of a real global crisis, and be transparent, put yourself out there, answer to people, and don't hide behind a cell phone, and that was a. I tried to seize the opportunity, and I'm very grateful for that. I'm very grateful because I wasn't infected, because it was really spreading in Mexico. So when there was a lot of fear, we tried to provide a little bit of ray of hope, saying that we can get things still done, and so while doing that, I had like one feet on, on the colonies and the suburbs, and my other field was on Congress. And so we passed a mental health bill, which Puebla didn't have, by all parties. They voted unanimously, and that set the tone for a new public policy regarding the COVID emergency. And so we were very pleased, because we worked hand in hand with professionals, with professors from other universities, and the idea is to bring all this talent together and try to draft the bill and pass it, and was able to make it, a legislation. It was fantastic. It was a wonderful experience, and now I'm back at the classroom, now back at school, and try to provide light to all these conundrums that technology gives us. The emerging technologies conundrums, right?
So it's interesting. We didn't even touch on this, but along the way, you've written 2 books, and one of them was, I believe, titled Movimiento Digital or Digital, where you working on my pronunciation still.
Good, doing good job.
Thank you. The first time I'd seen this concept of a digital citizen, and I'm curious to know what that means to you as you've set up this now school to help educate leaders as we continue to head into this digital age. So when you hear that term digital citizen, what does that mean to you? And how does that affect sort of like the whole point of Academia Política Digital?
Yes, well, the fact is that time changes, right? And new fads are coming, new technologies are coming, and citizens have now new responsibilities. 30 years ago, here in Mexico, we used to watch one TV channel, 2 at the most, and what the TV said, it was religion, right? We didn't discredit it, we believed it, and now with all this plethora of media that's crazy going out there, so all these options that we have, the media are fragmented now, and how to unearth knowledge and distinguish it from information is a real challenge. So what we believe is that you need to update yourself You need to acquire digital skill sets that will help you understand and navigate that uncharted waters for Mexico. Not talking about the U.S. or its thriving economy. No, but the reality here in Mexico City and 31 states, that it's very complex, and so that challenge made us aware that citizens need new responsibilities. Now, the youngsters, now they need to fact check. And back in the old days, we didn't do that. It was not our job. It was not our responsibility. And now they have to acquire this talent, and they need to they need to use it and try to put a question mark in every thing that comes, every post or every comment that comes around in a digital platform, because all this digital media, they're not news organizations. They're just a fan that turns on and it spills a lot of info. And so the challenge is how to distinguish what info is good and what info is bad. And so that's making it very simple and blunt, but it's a huge challenge, because the people with experience, high government officials, they cannot unravel a fake news, and the young new crowd, even though they're very savvy with the digital skills, because they were born with it, they don't have the experience or the mindset to dissect a fake news. So whether you're a young group or you're an experienced group, both of them, they lack of this feeling of how to identify, stop, and mitigate the fake news. So those are some of the challenges that the new digital citizens need to address. But also, the idea is, how can we empower citizens by creating a digital movement, like a grassroots movement, but based on digital platforms, and try to speak truthfully about it, right? I think that's the crux of the problem.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I mean, I think I'm constantly mentioning the fact on this podcast that I've got 2 young kids at home, and I just love the idea. I hadn't heard it coined in that way, but being a digital citizen and what the new responsibilities are for citizens. And so I'm going to have to read a little bit more about some of your work. I'm curious, at the beginning of this, we talked about how you were just on campus after not having been here for a pretty long time. I don't want to put myself in your shoes, but I have to imagine as you were walking up and down campus, you might have been thinking about, your 1990s experience as a BU student. When you think back to who that version of Marcelo was, would that young international relations student be surprised to see what you've gone on to do? Elected official, congressman in Mexico, author of 2 books. I think you've got a 3rd one on the way. And now this experience of founding and serving as the dean of a really cutting edge educational institute. Is it all a big surprise to you?
Yeah, totally.
That's an easy way of answering that question, but
for sure. I mean, what a ride, right? Well, I think it gave me the basis and the strength and the preparation to head on to do that, right? And you know what? Once you're in Mexico and you're dealing with politics, you don't brag about, hey, I studied at BU. Most of the people don't know where is BU, right? And so the challenge is that you feel super confident, right? That's what BU gives you, super confidence to head on any type of dilemma, problem, solution, or conundrum. Any of those, you can tackle it head on. And I think that's what BU prepared me for not shying down, for not letting your guard down. When things are tough, you take the hard way, not the easy way, and that gives you a lot of more. It gives you a good moral compass to navigate.
Marcelo, I'm sure I can speak on behalf of the university when I say it's so impressive to see what you've gone on to do, and I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to share your experience with our listeners, and wish you the best of luck.
Thank you, Jeff, for this opportunity. It's been wonderful talking to you, and let it out in the system, right? Because you have so many stories and experience that I hope this will shed a little bit of light to all the freshmen or junior or seniors that are about to graduate. The best thing is to give you self-confidence and super confidence, and hope my story helps them to tackle on their own agendas and their own challenges. Jeff, thank you very much for the opportunity, and thanks to all the crowd and the ex-alumni that make this possible, because we need to keep making BU strong, right?
All good stuff. Thank you so much, Marcelo. Thanks again to Marcelo for joining me on the podcast and for his lifelong work fighting disinformation and helping usher in a new wave of digital citizens. If you heard something today that makes you proud to be you, I hope you'll make a donation to the BU cause that matters most to you. Join me and thousands of other Terriers in celebrating the 10th anniversary of Giving Day. That's April 3rd, 2024 at givingday.bu.edu.
Thanks for listening to Proud to Be You. If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to subscribe, rate, and review our podcast on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you find your episodes. The Proud to Be You podcast is produced by Boston University and our partners 5 Tool Productions, a BU alumni-owned, Boston-based company specializing in video production, live streaming, and content marketing. Our theme from Artist.io is Think About Lights by Ben Fox. All additional media in this episode has been shared by our guest. To learn more about Proud to Be You, visit bu.edu/proud to be you.